Hi y'all, this is Regina. Welcome back to Regina's Crafting and More. I have another side seam design. Let me get this scrolled back up. Sorry about that. Come on up. Alright, so this is Santa and his hat. Santa's legs, below, his waist and below, and his hat. This is the color chart that you'll be getting a copy of. And let's run through the steps real quick. So let me show you what he looks like finished. Crystal did a test stitch for me. She used faux fur, and so some of it is sticking out from the satin stitching. You'd have to mess with your faux fur, try to pull it up if you wanted to keep it above the satin stitching. It's kind of hard to do. So you probably are going to have some faux fur sticking out of those satin stitches. Alright, so let's go through again. So this is your vertical and horizontal placement lines. You stitch this out, you line up your side seam or your fake side seam that you've ironed on this line, and then the bottom of your shirt against here. You stitch this design out. Let me get rid of this. You stitch this design out, which is the cutout right through here. After it stitches, you cut all this out all the way up to the line. That's your placement stitches for your shoes or boots, and you put your fabric down, you tack it down, you trim the fabric back. It stitches the satin stitching around the outside, and then it comes in here and stitches, and that should really be me. Okay, so it's stitched fine. This step is this part of his boot. Then you've got the placement line for this part of his body and his legs. You put your fabric down, this tacks it down, you trim it all back to the line. Then this is going to stitch all these red bits in his pants. Then this is the placement stitch for these areas right here. You're going to put your fabric down after this stitches. It's going to tack your fabric down. If you're going to use faux fur in here, you'll skip this step. Excuse me. This step stitches this design out to simulate fur. So if you put fur down, you'll skip this. And then this is your satin stitching around the fur. And then we go to his belt. That stitches the placement stitch for his belt areas. There's two different areas. Then you put the fabric down and it tacks the fabric down. You trim it back. It's going to stitch the black lines here. This is for his belt buckle, and this is the inside. Then we go again with the placement stitch for the hat up here. You put your fabric down, it stitches the hat, then it stitches the satin stitching, then it does the placement for this fur, and then you lay the fur down or your fabric. You tack it down. If you do fur, you skip this. If you don't do fur, you need to stitch this. And then it does the satin stitching around the edges. So let me show you how it stitches so you can actually see. So that is your placement. You line up your t-shirt, you stitch that, you trim out the fabric, placement stitch on the other side, tack down. After you put your fabric down, it tacks it down, and then it does the satin stitching. I hate to go too fast. Let's see. Does the satin stitching, and then it stitches the gray in between that. Okay, then it's going to do, after it does that, it's going to do the placement stitch for the pants and his body. It does the, let me back up a little bit, I had that going too fast. Okay, so it does the placement stitch, put your fabric down, it tacks it down, and then it's going to do the red satin stitching on the areas that are not overlapping. Okay, does there, and right there. And then it does the faux fur. That's your placement stitch placement stitch, tack down. And that, remember, if you use faux fur, you want to put some of that film type stuff on to try to keep that fur laid down and out of the way. All right, so it's going to tack all that down, then it stitches that, and then it's going to stitch the it's going to stitch the actual design if you didn't place faux fur down instead of fabric. If you put the faux fur in, you do not want to stitch this line right here. I mean, this design. This is what would stitch in place of you putting faux fur down. And it's just to simulate curly fur. Okay. And it's going to do the others. Let me see if I can grab this and make it go a little faster. Okay. And then it does the satin stitching around the edges. And then it does a placement for the belt, put the fabric down, it tacks it down, it does the satin stitching around the edge, then it does the stitches out the buckle, then the black inside the buckle, and then it does a placement stitch for the hat after it does this. It does a placement stitch for the hat, tacks your fabric down that you put down, you trim it back, and it stitches the satin stitch, and then it does the fur design. Or you don't stitch this if you put faux fur down. And then it's going to do the satin stitching around that area and you'll be done. Okay, so there we go. I think you'll be done. Oh dear, what's it doing? Did it stitch twice? It sure did. Sure seems like it. Let me see. Oh, it did. Okay, I need to delete that. I'm going to do it now while we only needed to stitch one time. That would have been terrible. All right, there we go. So that is the Santa pants and hat, legs and hat, side seam design. This will be on my Etsy page here in the next day or so. So there'll be a notification in the group that it's been uploaded. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and share. Click the bell on the YouTube videos so that you'll be reminded of future videos that are posted. Enjoy!